We've been instructed to prepare for NC State, and we're preparing for NC State. So here we go. Honestly, been looking forward to this game for quite a while. I got a good program down there. I know a lot of Mountaineer people have fans, and all involved have been looking forward to playing this game since 2010, I guess, was the last time the two programs played. They're good. Dave Doran's been there for a long time. Is a really highly respected defensive football coach. They've got good players. My last encounter with them was 2003, I believe. Phillip Rivers was the last time I was in Raleigh, and was a really good game atmosphere. Their in-game stuff was what I remember more than anything. But they were good then. Kind of reminds me of what they are now. Got a good quarterback with quality offensive line, good skill. And then defensive guys that look like NFL players. You watch them from last year. 4 D linemen all got drafted, but they played upwards of 10 guys last year. And then they got a couple of running backs drafted, offensive linemen drafted. 2 linebackers were really good players last year. Lost another corner. But they played around 24 guys last year. So even if it wasn't the guys that were going to the NFL, it was or graduating, it was guys that were taking their turn. So when you look at their defense now, their D-line's all 6'4", 6'5", 300-pound guys that are really good. Their linebackers, this Pratt kid, number 3, didn't start, but was like their 3rd leading tackler. I mean, that dude can play now. And their safeties are 6'2", 225, just real big, long, physical guys. Corners, they got 3 corners that they play with all the time that are quality cover guys, got a lot of good depth. Coach Doran's the defensive coordinator, and then they got Dave Huxtable, which has been there the entire time with them, who's been everywhere. And then they added Ted Roof, who's been defensive coordinator pretty much everywhere in the country as well. So they got 3 really good defensive-minded coaches, and they play really, really, really good defense. Offensively, their offensive coordinator came from Boise, which makes sense why their quarterback came from Boise as well as a grad transfer. I think Boise's really good on offense right now, so I'm not quite sure what happened there, but you talk about a 6'5" pocket guy that sits there and can make every throw. You got 4 or 5 receivers that are all big and can play. 3 offensive linemen coming back. Remind me of a Big 12 offense. So preparing for these guys this week is something that comes natural for us and will pay off in the future based on we play a lot of teams that do this type of stuff. They're 60% 10 personnel, around 20% 11 personnel, and that's the type of stuff that we need to prepare for and be able to defend. Special teams, they're solid. They've got good players across the board. Got an experienced punter averaging around 42. Got a new kicker who's been doing incredibly well. Different kickoff guy than the kicker, but is the same kickoff guy as last year. Do a great job with punt coverage, do a great job with kickoff coverage. Their return guys, although different from last year, who I thought were pretty dynamic last year, are guys that are doing good things as well. So we'll be ready to play. And today's no different than every Tuesday. We're going to introduce these guys. We actually introduced them and practiced on these guys on Sunday night. Normal Tuesday today with a lot of installation, and got good opportunity to go out there and practice today and tomorrow, which we will. We're on the plane to go play. We're on the plane to go play. If not, then we'll switch gears and figure out what's next.
Dana,
probably no questions whatsoever.
You normally handle inclement weather practice, and What's the advantage of staying outside when it's bad and going inside maybe being more productive?
Yeah, really the only thing that forces us inside is lightning. I mean, if it's 28 and snowing, we're going to be outside. There's a footing aspect to snow, that we'll deal with, but rain, we'll practice in rain. The only way we go in is if they say there's lightning, you got to go in, and then we go in. Other than that, we'll be outside. We haven't had a whole lot of rain days. We had a couple. I was not concerned with last Saturday at all. I thought we handled those conditions just fine. I mean, we understand. I mean, how many of those games we playing last year? Iowa State was like that. Kansas State was like that. Utah was like that. Didn't work. Oklahoma State, I believe, was kind of like that. Oklahoma a couple years ago. Well, we play in all kinds of weather. We don't care what the weather is. We go out and we play in it. Now, there's lightning that doesn't allow you to do that. And there's 150-mile-an-hour winds and a hurricane that probably won't allow you to do that. But other than that, we go out and we practice. I thought we handled it really well last Saturday, and I was glad the weather kind of held off as long as it did so the crowd would be there, because the crowd was spectacular and gave us a lot of juice in warm-ups. Couldn't be happier with our support right now from a fan perspective. That's why Rex Sunahara was the player of the game on special teams, because it was wet and he'd never snapped in those conditions, and his snaps were perfect. He's had plenty of wet ball snap drills. Sills lost the ball once, Will lost the ball once. Other than that, we were pretty good on ball security. I was happy with it overall.
Do you talk to your players any about keeping their heads? Obviously, they see the weather and everything, about staying focused on getting ready for the game. Is that a concern of yours at all?
No, not at all. I mean, I addressed it Sunday. I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, we can't get caught unprepared, so prepare. And if this was a bye week, we'd go practice anyway. I mean, there's a routine and schedule and expectations that continue to practice football, and if you want to continue to be good at football. So, I've addressed it, and we're not going to address it again. We've moved forward, and we're preparing for NC State until they tell us otherwise. And at this point right now, they haven't said anything.
You've been told to prepare for NC State. Have you been told anything about changes in time or place?
That's not going to happen. We'll play 3:30 Saturday, or we won't play. Our job's to get ready for every game the right way. And I've been through this before. And if you start trying to outsmart systems like this, then it's going to affect your team. Back in 2008, when I was at Houston, we moved a game because of a hurricane. Moved it from Houston to Dallas. And there was 250 people that ended up going to that game, because the hurricane that ripped apart the city of Houston on Friday night at midnight, as our players sat in a hotel room in Dallas and watched it and didn't get any sleep. We had to move the game from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 10 a.m. to try to beat the hurricane. And then the hurricane sped up and went straight to Dallas, and we played in the hurricane that just ripped our city apart. I mean, and then we were just completely discombobulated as a football team for about 2 weeks. And it affected us the next game. So under no circumstances, I want to play this game so bad you have no idea. With that said, the most important game after this game is Kansas State, and we cannot do anything to put ourselves in any kind of a disadvantage whatsoever to play any Big 12 football game. That's how I view it. No, I don't make the decisions.
Dana, what have the decision makers told you as to when they expect a decision?
Nothing. I mean, it's really more. This is not a home game for the Mountaineers, so we're pretty much out of it. It's pretty much NC State and ACC now. There's more games than this one. And football games are pretty damn important. We all know that, but people's safety is pretty important as well. not only our student athletes, but the people that live in North Carolina and South Carolina. And we don't think we need to get into the understanding of the mass destruction that can potentially happen for a system like this. So it's out of our hands, man. And I know we got to talk about it, and I got to sit up here and we got to answer these questions. I get all that, but we're preparing for NC State, and until they tell me otherwise, and I have no idea when that's going to happen, then that's what we're going to do.
Say the phone rings at whatever hour and the game is off. Do you have plans for what you might do Saturday?
Well, what track what happens? That thing could head straight to West Virginia. I've got some concerns with the amount of rainfall that's going to happen in the state of West Virginia. So, yeah, there's a contingency plan in place. There always is. We got a pretty important game a week from this Saturday that we need to get ready for. So, weather will probably play an issue in that. But I have zero interest in treating this like a bye week whatsoever. We will be here and we will practice when we can practice.
Like no recruiting, for example?
No, I'm not doing any of that. I'm planning on playing this game Saturday. If we can't, then we will switch gears and continue to practice football to try to make our team better. It's too early in the year to worry about any of that. That's why they set bye weeks. That's why, the most important thing for bye weeks is recruiting and health. We have those scheduled down the road, and this is not one of them. Our job is to continue to get better playing football, whether we're at NC State or whether we're going to switch gears and prepare for our next game.
And if they cancel this thing on Wednesday, say, are you prepared to step right into Kansas State on Thursday?
Absolutely. Yeah, why not? That's we've already got the binders ready. We know Kansas State pretty good. They know us pretty good. That's not going to get talked about in my meeting this afternoon. That hasn't been talked about in our prep on any of the phases. We could switch gears pretty quickly. I'd be lying if I said otherwise.
Dana, this would be the best passing offense, as you said, that you would face, and you'll face others like it down the road. What are your thoughts on your pass defense to this juncture?
It needs to keep improving. Our pass rush is been okay. Needs to keep getting better, which I think it will. Just those D linemen I think are going to continue to get better. We didn't pressure a whole lot last week, which we know we have that up our sleeve. We can pressure as much as we want. Coverage-wise, we still got work to do, and today's a big day for that. We need to get out there and do a whole bunch of work to try to get ourselves better. We got a lot of good competition going on at corner. Was happy with how Keith Washington went in and played. Drake Pitts is going to get better and better. Josh Norwood's going to get better and better. Hakeem Bailey needs to regroup a little bit and practice and get himself. I've seen that kid make a ton of plays. So that's good. There's good competition going on with those four. And then our safeties are pretty experienced guys. So. It's not just, you can't just pinpoint one person or any of that. It's a collective effort. It's a big task for us. Finley's a heck of a player. But it's no different than, playing against any of these Big 12 schools, because the Big 12 is pretty good passing offenses. And what our defense sees in practice is, I think, a pretty good passing offense. So it's a work in progress.
Do you remind you of anyone? Mason Rudolph? Anybody that you can think of?
I tell you to answer your question, no, I don't compare quarterbacks. I don't compare Will with any of the people we've had or any of that. I'm not getting into that. But he's a big, tall guy that ball comes out nice. It comes out quick and he's accurate. He throws it. He throws as good a ball as I've seen.
Week one of Chase starting at right guard, what was the takeaway from that?
Okay. Okay. that's an ongoing battle. You know, we flipped Chase and Isaiah from tackle to guard to tackle. And we thought Chase played better at guard than tackle, and he's played both. Isaiah's played both. We played Joe Brown too much in game one. You know, Joe's going to be a good player for us and is continuously working himself into better shape. It's hard for an O-lineman to step foot on campus in May or June and start game one. You know, Joe's I think he's a little ahead of the curve because he's an older guy with some Division I experience, but he's 365 pounds or whatever he was when we first got in here. So he's continuously working himself into shape. So we needed a better option at guard, and Chase gave us a better option at guard. I'm trying to redshirt Isaiah, trying to get him another year. And, you know, if we need to play him, we'll play him. But if we can save him right now, Kelby Wickline's our third tackle. If we can save Isaiah and only play him in 4 games, then that'll be good for our football team next year. So that'll still be a battle between Chase and Joe. They need to keep competing.
What takes place in that week instead of just still starting Joe but cutting his snaps back versus actually making Chase a starter the first week he went back to guard?
Just thought he played better in practice last week, honestly. You know, not disappointed in Joe, just it's a competition. I mean, the more competition that we can have at a whole bunch of these spots, the better they're going to be. You see it out of our running back position right now. Those guys are all competing hard with each other, you know, and it's making them better. You know, I want to get that going at corner. I think we got some of that going on D-line. You know, up front, we had it at center, which Butch Grossi coming in and having a really good camp pushed Matt Jones and made Matt Jones better. So that's what we look for at all these spots. You know, bringing in a couple of pretty high-quality defensive line grad transfer guys have made guys like Reese better, has made Zeke better. You know, those guys, from a playing perspective, have made them better, but then their presence have made Dante and Darius Stills better. So the more competition we can get, the better off we're going to be.
Dan Anderson, you have an appeal with Joe Brown and trying to get him another year next year. Have you heard anything definitive on that?
Not yet. It's in the works, but, you know, we'll see what happens there.
Coach, is there a benefit to playing a non-conference game on like a true road game like this, out of conference, unlike playing a game like Tennessee or Virginia Tech or BYU the last few years, or is it just a game's a game?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you ask with it. You get high-quality Power 5 home and homes, it's going to be a home and home. We can finish the rest of this with scheduling talk if we want. I mean, you know, I've got asked the question, oh my gosh, if you don't play NC State, you're not going to have a quality win. Well, Tennessee's in the SEC, that's a quality win. You know, there's a lot of teams out there that are only playing 9 Power 5s. Well, we're guaranteed 9, and we've already played one, which is 10. Heck, there's an SEC school that plays 8. You know, so I mean, it'd be good, but is it? It's not mandatory because nobody else does it.